The question, as always, is, are we willing to actually cut a deal so that everybody gets cut in fairly? All the BRICS are asking for, all the former colonies in sub-Saharan Africa, in the Sahel region, even in the United States and everywhere else, everybody's just asking for to be cut in fairly. Like, and then let's just get back to, let's just get back to making babies and building cool shit, and then watching Elon Musk like send a rocket in space and then catching it. And that shit's cool, right? And we should want to do more than that. And we should stop trying to, think of the world as a zero-sum game, because it's not. Again, go back to the beginning of the podcast. Malthusian thinking is a zero-sum game. In order for me to win, you have to lose. It is not the way this works. Okay? Life is not a hockey game. Trading is a hockey game. Life is not a hockey game. Life is an accretive process of building on the past to a better tomorrow for more people. It's a fundamentally different thing. I'm sorry. And we can toil to beat the depreciation and curve and to beat the forces of entropy, but we have to continually put our best effort towards stop pushing a dead whale up a beach and turn the fucking whale into oil, food, and shelter. That's it. It's not that tough. And work together to do those things, as opposed to expending ourselves in the service of other people, or more appropriately, pushing that dead whale up a beach so that some guy can stand there and force you to cut that whale down, do all that, and then he gets to take everything and he hands you, a small piece of meat, and you get to live subsistence, and then have to be forced marched down to the beach again to get the next dead whale to bring to them. That's the world we live in today. That's what we're all railing against. And now all we have to do is say, you know what? We're not doing that anymore. Sorry. No. Sorry, France. You don't get to take all of Niger's oil and gold and uranium and everything and pull it out for 0.1 cents on the dollar. You don't get to do that anymore. You're going to cut them in for 10%. Tough. And the problem is that the French economy is based on that shit coming into their economy at that level, and they can't afford to give 10%. So they're going to fight it. Then they're going to fight it through the fact that they have guns and they have somebody standing behind them, the United States, up until recently, helping them to continue to do that. And we just have to say, you know what? No. If they want to continue to fight like that, that's fine. We can leave NATO. You guys can fight for yourselves, and you can figure out how you're going to get that, how you're going to make that work. That's my shtick, and I'm going to stay on that shtick until I finally convince everybody of it. There you go.
So in this vein, we've kind of been talking about the geopolitics and in Malthusians and just this. We had global cooling, then there's global warming. Now it's climate change. Now it's energy usage, right? It just keeps shifting seemingly every decade, right? And no one seems to catch it at a macro level, unfortunately. And now we all of a sudden, though, have this nuclear thing where all of a sudden big tech is just, we are all, go for liftoff with big tech. For decades, people, I'm like, can we just use nuclear, thorium? Like, can we just do things where we all have energy abundantly?
Yeah, no, it's clearly obvious that we turn the corner and everything is going to be nuclear. We're moving forward on nuclear power.
Tom, really, really quick. Sorry, the last part of that is, do you think AI, before you answer it, do you think AI was like a Trojan horse almost for nuclear power usage? This is wild, because we're like, well, this is what
Dave Collum tweeted out yesterday. And I told Dave earlier. So I told Dave Collum literally 2 hours ago. I'm like, Dave, that was a great tweet. And you may be right about that. I don't have a good answer for you. But I know that they're not going to power any of this stuff without, nuclear power. And I just wish they would stop building these Gen 1 light water reactors we're sitting there making all this freaking nuclear waste that has to be cooled on a regular basis for the next 90 years with diesel generators. That's just fucking stupid. There's better technology out there, and Rosatom is building them all across freaking Asia. So can we stop with the shitty Gen 1, light water reactors can we get out of the uranium-238 cycle, because we don't need to make any more fucking plutonium and make nuclear bombs. I've been on this freaking rant I've been on this freaking thing since the 90s. It's just dumb. But yeah, man, it's not cool. I think they turned the corner on this when the whole climate change thing failed when the Russians said, you know what, we're not doing that. And the Russians, I identified this about Russia like 12 years ago. I said, Russia, not only do they have all this oil, but they've got like the whole uranium supply chain up, mid, and downstream. Like they control all of it. They control the lion's share of the yellow cake. They control they control all of it, and like it's just so silly. Like we're literally fighting the people like who have all the collateral. Like what are you fucking doing? And at the end of the day, there are only so many good uranium deposits in the world. One of them is the Athabasca Basin up in Saskatchewan. The other ones are in Kazakhstan. There's still a few left in Australia, and then there's a couple in I think there's a couple in Russia. There may be a couple of other places, but those are the big ones. And we're going to need that uranium. But here's the gig, and we all know this. And anybody who's taken 5 minutes to studying thorium knows that freaking thorium's everywhere. We can Roomba this shit up off the beach because it's literally can Roomba the shit up off the beach, right? Because salt water has enough thorium in it that you could literally just scrape it up and then power Miami by just running a Roomba up and down the beach if we had the reactors to do it. And the thorium 232 cycle is so much better because it's really the uranium 233 cycle. That it's a fuel that goes until it's done. There is no waste. It's a 100% goes. There's no critical mass. It just keeps going until it's gone because it's a neutron positive. It's a 2.1 or 2.2 neutron process, meaning for every neutron that it uses to get it going, it creates more than enough to keep going. So it's a self-perpetuating process. The uranium 238 cycle is not like that. So below a certain critical mass. So I think it's fascinating, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with decentralization of the power grid. But bitching for that for 25 years as well. It's nothing new. Like this is what we need to do. But political power doesn't come from the end of a gun. Well, it does, but it also comes from the fact that the local power generation, the governments are. See, I've argued with people for years about the monetary system. I can think back to when I not argued, but chatted about this. And I remember the first time I spoke to Danielle DiMartino Booth on my podcast, I asked her about the possibility of SOFR re-regionalizing the Fed funds rate and getting rid of that. And she just looked at me and said, "Yes, it could, but they're never going to give up that power." Same thing with governments; they're never going to give up the power of being able to control your access to electricity. So, I am fundamentally skeptical of these things because at the end of the day, it's easier to make a coal-fired plant that can power a city as opposed to a big nuclear power plant that powers a state or most of a state, right? So think about, be careful what you wish for in this. Like what I want, small modular reactors, decentralized power grid, energy trading, and all the real energy trading, not that Enron bullshit. And, but I don't know. We'll see if we get there or not. So, but we still live in a world of rampant authoritarianism, which is creaking along, trying to stay in power. And we'll see if it, we'll see where we are in 20 years.